What's up, guys? It's Dr. Brooks with Des Moines Spine and Sport. We're going to take you through our mobility strategies for the mat games. We're going to start here with event 1, hit it and quit it, and talk about the keys that we think are going to set you up for success for that event 1. So in the handout, I talk about how event 1 has a lot of different degrees worth of hip flexion, hip extension. Okay, so we're going to attack the structures that limit our hip inflection and extension. So we're going to start with basically the posterior chain. Okay, the extensors that limit that flexion. Hamstring first. First hamstring mobilization we're going to do is a doorway hamstring mobilization, where we basically get seated in front of that doorway, kick our leg up and get that leg straight against the wall, being active through the quads, pulling the toes towards the head. Okay. The next mobilization is with the foam roller. We're actually going to get after the glutes. So we've worked hamstrings, we're going to work glutes, and then we'll work up into some of those extensors in the low back. First one, like I said, is with that foam roller. We'll do a cross-legged foam roller smash. Get into a cross-legged or figure 4 position. Kind of deduct that leg across, put that glute on stretch, and then what we're going to do is we're going to twist our body and roll. So we hit that lateral aspect of the glute and some of its insertional tendons there at that lateral hip. Okay? So after that, let's hit the pigeon position or the elevated pigeon position. Most individuals can't do the pigeon on the ground because they just don't have the proper hip mobility. So we utilize the box here to get us elevated and actually get into a good position. So you'll kick that leg up on the box. You want to fight to get this lower leg parallel with the front of the box, but most of us are missing ranges of motion in our hips, so you'll have to have that knee slightly in front of the ankle. Get into that position, kind of bridge yourself up on the knee and ankle, and then let yourself sink down below your hips to feel that mobilization here in the lateral hip. Okay? So hamstrings, glutes, now we need to get after some of those erectors in the low back. And we're actually going to focus on the QL. So it's not a true erector spinae muscle, but it's really, really important with regards to some of that extension of the hip. So the QL runs from the ischium, kind of runs lateral up to that lumbar spine. Most people can feel their erectors. That QL sits a little bit deep to that, so we kind of want to hook underneath those erectors. So we use a softball to do that, and you really want to set that softball in kind of like that soft space right next to your erectors. So I always like to do this against the wall. So I'll once again make my way to the wall here, kick my feet up into kind of this 90-90 position, roll to the side, set that softball underneath, and then let yourself sink down, and then just kind of rock those hips back and forth, letting that softball sink into that QL. Okay? So, hamstrings, glutes, QL. Now we want to attack some of the hip flexors that limit our hip extension. Our first go-to for that is always the couch stretch, okay? Because that's one of the best ways to attack that psoas muscle. Get yourself in front of a couch, a chair like we have here, prop that foot on up, drop that knee straight to the floor, and then get into that good lunge position where you're stacked on this front ankle and your shoulders are stacked on top of the hips. One thing you want to make sure you're doing in this is make sure you do not rest on this front knee. Far too often we see athletes get in this position and they'll rest on the front knee. What that does is it brings you to forward inclination and puts that psoas muscle in a shortened position. It needs to be lengthened to stretch it out well. Okay? We're going to attack the psoas a little bit more utilizing the kettlebell. We've just got a little boy here. A big 56 one will work just fine, but what you want to do is set the handle of that kettlebell right in kind of this crease here at the front of your hip, and we'll be able to get at the psoas there. That psoas runs from your lumbar spine at an angle right down to the front of your hip, so we want to set it right across that angle. Okay? So you'll set that kettlebell, make your way down, put that kettlebell kind of right into that crease that we talked about, and then just let yourself fall over top of that kettlebell. What I like to do once into this position is I'll pull my heel towards my butt, and I'll actually windshield wiper my lower leg across. That almost saws that psoas muscle over that kettlebell. Okay? So, hip flexors. Now we actually want to hit some of the abductors because they incorporate into some of that hip flexion or limit some of that hip extension. So I like to utilize the wall as a tool for this. We use a wall squat and then what's known as a wall eagle. So for that wall squat, what we'll do is have a seat next to the wall, try to get as close as possible so my butt will be almost touching the wall, or it will be touching the wall. And then I want to recreate the bottom of my squat position. And this would be a ass to ankles, or excuse my language, butt to ankles here position. And we're going to drive those knees out to feel that good stretch, to feel good tension, kind of into that groin and into the adductors. So you're going to hang out here, and then for the wall eagle, we'll send those legs up the wall, and then you'll let gravity do its thing, and let them fall away and open, and you'll feel that once again in the adductors and up into that groin. Okay? So, like I said, event 1, hip flexion, hip extension. Okay? Attack some of those extensors, and then attack some of those flexors.